the Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Italian Football Podcast, the official podcast of Football Italia. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Tavali. On today's show, we will focus a little bit more on the transfer market, some huge transfer updates in Serie A at Juventus, Milan and Napoli in particular. All three clubs will officially have new coaches by the end of this week. Milan are closing in on the signing of Joshua Zirkzee from Bologna, while Juventus have Michele Di Gregorio in the bag and are getting closer to Teun Koopmeiners from Atalanta, as well as working on a number of other deals as well. They are very, very busy, Juventus are. Inter are sorting out some important new contracts for players and for coach Simone Inzaghi. Napoli have hired Antonio Conte and are getting closer themselves to Alessandro Buongiorno. There is absolute chaos in Rome at Lazio, while there is something of a managerial merry-go-round in Serie A. We're, of course, only days away from the start of Euro 2024. We'll have plenty more on that later in the week. Italy have another injury worry ahead of their opening game against Albania. We also have our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. For all our first-time listeners, this is our free weekly episode that we do every Monday, reviewing the weekend Serie A action and all the biggest talking points in Italian football. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week, including our weekly Q&A episode every Tuesday, where we answer all the questions from our patrons, plus the weekly Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP and become a subscriber for just $2.99 a month, plus VAT. You can now also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify. We'll provide the link in the description. It's the same price and the same terms. And for all of you that do listen on Spotify, on Apple and iTunes podcasts, we'd really appreciate it if you give us a 5-star rating, give us a follow and a like. We're also on YouTube as well. It really helps us to grow and do more quality content for you guys. So let's get into today's show. So we'll start off with Milan and the Joshua Zirkzee deal. The transfer is almost done. Milan are set to pay the €40 million release clause. It looks like it's going to be a contract until 2029, around $5 million a year. All that there really is to sort out, we're recording this on Sunday, is the massive commission to his agent, Kia Joorabchian, who has been asking for €15 million. Milan are looking to get that down to around 10. As you can tell by Nima's laugh, it's absolutely insane what these agents are asking for. 15
and
million.
Especially that guy, Kia Joorabchian, this Iranian guy. Like, he is, he's unbelievable. He's just...
Yeah, he is unbelievable, and I wouldn't pay it if I was Milan, but that's what you have to do these days. Well, these are the rules, and it looks like the deal is going to be done. So Nima, this is a great signing and a great start to the transfer window for Milan, isn't it?
It's a fantastic signing. It's exactly the signing that Milan need to do after Giroud, Zlatan. They need a focal point up there, and they're getting a player who was, if not the breakout star, in last year in Serie A, or not, and also not all over Europe. He showed glimpses and levels that were just unbelievable. And I think as a sole striker in this system that Fonseca is going to play, which is a continuation of Pioli played, that he's the focal point. His flick-ons, his link-up play, his technical ability, his ability to put others into play. I think that's going to be more important than his goal scoring, which we know is good. But I think Zirkzee coming to Milan allows Leao to maybe he hit that 20 goal in the Serie A season. That's where I stand with this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think his goals and goal contributions last season were good. They weren't outstanding. Obviously, we have to take into account he's playing for Bologna, who weren't a high-scoring team, but he was so much more than that, and he was the key player for Bologna. I don't think Bologna get Champions League without him, as good as they were last season, because he just makes everyone around him play better. He's the focal point, like you said. He ties everything together, tactically ties everything together. He makes everyone play better, and the prospect of Christian Pulisic and in particular Rafael Leao being able to bounce off him.
And Teo as well. And if Ruben Loftus-Cheek can make runs in from deep, it's a fantastic signing. It's a smart signing. Well done, Milan.
Yeah, absolutely. And for 40 million as well, for when we consider, I know they're going to pay a lot for the commission, but I mean, even if it's 15 million for the commission, I think it'll be less than that. 50 million, 50 to 55 million. I mean, that's potentially a huge bargain when you consider, like Osimhen's going. Osimhen, the asking price is 130 million. And you look at all these other players, they'd go for double that for what Zirkzee done last season. So,
and he's young too. That's the thing.
And he's young. Yeah, he's young. He's a modern player. He's got the technique, but he's got the physique. He's giant. What is he? 6'4", 6'5". We'll have to see, of course, if Milan sacrifice anyone, because that there is that possibility. I think Rafael Leao is definitely going to stay. So I think it's probably out of Theo Hernandez and Mike Maignan. If they are going to sacrifice someone a big name, I think it will be one of those two. So then it will be a case of how do they replace them. But if we're looking at their attacking lineup, it's already looking very tasty for next season. And Milan are not finished there. They're looking for a central midfielder. Cesc Fabregas said the other day that he understands that Youssouf Fofana from Monaco is joining. He's the favourite currently. And then they're also looking for a right back, Thiago Santos of Lille and Matty Cash of Aston Villa, which I'm not so sure about.
Yeah.
I mean, they're looking at those players to try and upgrade on Calabria. So Milan are at work. And of course, Fonseca will be announced as the coach this week as well. That seems very likely. So Milan have started very, very well. It's the enthusiasm is back after, few of the fans not so sure about the appointment of Fonseca, but this Zirkzee thing really sets them up for what should be a title. It should be a title challenge next season.
Absolutely, no, don't make no mistakes about it. If Milan aren't fighting for the Serie A or mounting a serious title charge next season, that would be a failure. Given the quality, like you said, if they, depending on who they sell, of course, still early days. But yeah, no, Milan are bringing these guys in to make Milan better, and better than finishing second. excuse me, is finishing first. I'm not saying they're going to do it, but they're going to have to mount a serious title challenge. And I think anything less than that would be a failure. Absolutely. But of course, we do need to give Fonseca time. It's a long window. It's barely opened. Well, it hasn't really opened. It opens in July, but it's looking really good for Milan. It's a strong start after some turbulent times after Pioli left and the whole Lopetegui debacle and all the arguing and back and forth. This is the kind of thing. I mean, when Bergomi told me when I interviewed him that you have to give fans something to dream about, regardless of where you are. And where you are in your project or where you are in the table or whatever, the fans need something to dream and hold on to. And Zirkzee makes fans excited and has them dreaming, has them thinking, okay, Teo, Leao, Zirkzee, that's really exciting.
It's exciting for Milan, but for Bologna, it's a huge loss for them because they've already lost Thiago Motta, who's going to join Juventus as the new coach. Obviously, Vincenzo Italiano's come in. And they're now about to lose Zirkzee. They might lose Calafiori. They've lost Lewis Ferguson for the rest of 2024 with a serious injury, ACL. Yeah. So I mean, starting with Zirkzee, how do you replace Zirkzee? Because I read out the names that they've got. The favourite right now is AZ Alkmaar's, or AZ. It's actually Premface to say AZ Alkmaar. So that's like saying the same name twice. By the way, so AZ's Vangelis Pavlidis scored 33 goals last season. Panathinaikos' Fotis Ioannidis as well. He scored 23 goals last season. Then you've got Jorgen Strand Larsen from Celta Vigo, Jonathan Burkhardt from Mainz, and Adam Zorlek from Bayer Leverkusen. They're along with Armin Broja, who's also a possible backup option for Milan. these are supposed to be the shortlist. I mean, it's going to be some ask for Bologna to try and replace Zirkzee, isn't it?
Oh, they're not going to be able to replace him. It's very simple. Bologna are my thing with the Vincenzo Italiano appointment and everything that happened here is, look, if the goal, because if you remember, I even before they appointed Mihailovic way back then, I thought Italiano should probably go to Bologna, because I think in terms of size of the club, the youth setup they've got there, I think that could actually be pretty good for them. But if the goal here is to replicate what Atalanta are doing, with Vincenzo Italiano in charge and these names being named, these players being linked to replace Zirkzee and of course Calafiori when he joins Juve, which seems very likely, they're not going to do that. I don't see them finishing in the Champions League spot next season. I hope they don't embarrass themselves in the Champions League. It'd be bad for Italy and the Serie A. But I do hope that they I think they're going to finish somewhere around 8th, 7th, 8th, something like that, which is pretty much what you can expect of them. Whilst Atalanta, we expect to finish in the top 5, don't we, next season? Because of who they've got and what they've got, even if they lose Koopmeiners.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that brings us on to Juventus. There's a lot to talk about with Juventus. Juventus are incredibly busy right now. Cristiano Giuntoli is working incredibly hard, and I think speaking to the people I've been speaking to, it seems like Juventus are trying to get as much of their business done as possible before the start of pre-season training at the start of July, or probably more like the middle of July because of the Euros. And they want to get it done. Thiago Motta wants to have the whole pre-season to basically be working with most of his players, and that I think that's evident right now. So they're working on a lot of deals in terms of players coming in and players going out. So I'm going to try and round it up as well as I can, because there's a lot going on, and this will change. And then we can kind of discuss each where relevant. We can discuss kind of individuals where we want to. So I'll start off with Michele Di Gregorio, who we already discussed a little bit last week. Now, my understanding is that that's done, that deal. It's just missing the official announcement. It's going to be around 18 million plus bonuses, taking up to maybe 20, but around 18 million. That's done. That means that one of Perin or Szczesny will leave. Szczesny is the favoured option to leave because he's on a big salary and he has 1 year left on his contract. There has been some reports that Ronaldo's team, actually, Al Nassr, are interested in signing him. I don't know whether Szczesny will want to go there. I think he prefers to go back to the Premier League when he does leave, but he actually would rather stay at Juventus for the final year before leaving. But I think Juventus are trying to push him out. So that's the goalkeeper situation. We've discussed Di Gregorio. I think I said last week that I would have waited a year because I don't see it as a priority given the cost of the operation. But as we will see, Giuntoli is working very, very hard at raising the cash. Juventus don't have that much cash to spend without outgoings. Now, the number one target for Juventus this summer is Teun Koopmeiners. They've basically agreed personal terms already. He is their number one target he's their number one target, but he's the number one target for the midfield. Now, Atalanta are asking for 60 million, which is too much for Juventus. It's too much really for any Italian club. Juventus are trying to get that price down, both the actual value of Koopmeiners, but also they are offering part exchange players to bring that down. Atalanta are actually interested in the players they're offering. They're offering Moise Kean, they're offering Illing Jr., and they're offering Dean Huijsen. Now, Huijsen wasn't an option, but now, following the serious ACL injury to Giorgio Scalvini, Atalanta need to now sign a defender. So Huijsen is somebody that they could potentially look at. So we're going to have to see how those negotiations go. Koopmeiners wants to join Juventus. They're his first choice. So we'll have to see how that happens. Then, obviously, Koopmeiners would be an amazing signing for Juventus. There's no doubt about that. Did you want to say anything on Koopmeiners before I move on to the next one, Nima?
It's a smart signing. It's a very intelligent signing. It's the kind of signing that Juve need to do in order to revolutionize their midfield, which is what they're doing. And just a little comment there. I think I can just see Illing Jr. and Huijsen exploding at Atalanta. Like, it's just in Gasperini's system. it just feels like a good deal for everybody involved. I'm not too
Yeah.
sure about Moise Kean. I think he'll do all right, but yeah, he's also one of those players who Gasperini can, if he does what Gasperini wants him to do, he could also take huge strides.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that could be right. If the numbers add up for both clubs, that could be a deal that benefits
Everyone.
all parties. Yeah. Now let's move on to Douglas Luiz. Now this is another transfer that Juventus are in negotiations for. They're simultaneously, while working on the Koopmeiners deal, they're working simultaneously for Douglas Luiz, the Aston Villa midfielder. Now I don't know. It's unclear right now whether this is an alternative to Koopmeiners if the Koopmeiners transfer can't happen, or whether it's in addition to Koopmeiners. Now, if it's going to be in addition to Koopmeiners, then Juventus are going to have to do really, really. Giuntoli's going to have to do really, really well at raising money because this is going to be expensive as well. And we'll come at the end. We'll come to the players that Juventus are looking to offload. So the maths are going to be important here with the business Juventus do this summer. Now, Douglas Luiz is available for sale because Aston Villa need to sell before June the 30th to not fall foul of these new Premier League financial fair play rules. And it's the profit, and the official name is it the profit and sustainability rules? I think that is the official name. But basically, they have to balance the books, or they risk getting a points deduction and other penalties. There is a gap between Villa are asking for 60 million euros. There's a big gap between what they're demanding and what Juventus value him at. But again, Juventus are offering a part exchange offer. They're offering Weston McKennie, whose contract runs out in a year. Contract talks have pretty much broken down. And that Juventus value him at 30 million. So again, we have to just see how the negotiations go here with the valuations, with the costs. Again, it seems though like Douglas Luiz is open to the move, and it looks like McKennie's open to the move the other way. I think Juventus, if they manage to get rid of McKennie and get Douglas Luiz for a decent price, not overpaying, and leaving them enough money to strengthen other positions, then again, this could be a good deal for Juventus as well. And we also have to see what happens in the talks to renew Rabiot's contract as well. So Juventus have clearly targeted their own midfield as being an area they really absolutely have to strengthen, and that's why they're working on two deals at the same time. But whether or not both will join, I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't think the money's there, but we'll have to see how much that they can raise from other transfers.
But that's the thing, though. If they can sell Sule for 40 million, Chiesa for 30-40, if they can, use, Huijsen,
McKennie,
Keane, Illing Jr. in deals to get. I mean, that's money coming in. Then the math begins to add up, if that makes sense.
And the other thing that's key, and this is something that I explained in more detail in the Q&A episode, which we recorded before this episode, and that will be coming out on Tuesday. The Q&A episode is that just as important as it is in raising money from sales in order to be able to buy, what is also just as important is cutting the salary bill in order to be able to afford transfers as well. And Juventus are this summer have obviously Allegri's left. So they've got that off the books. They might have to pay part of his salary. They will pay part of his salary for the last year. They've come to some kind of agreement there, but not the full salary. And he was on 9 million a year. Alexandro was the third highest paid player in Serie A. He's now left. It looks like, we'll come to it in a minute. It looks like Chiesa is for sale, and if it isn't Chiesa, there will be another big name instead that would be sacrificed, who would be on high wages as well. We're talking 5 million upwards. So that's another salary off the books. And then they are going to be selling a lot of other players as well. They're just going to be getting salaries off the books. Now, when you sign a player, if Juventus sign Koopmeiners, for example, for 60 million, what happens is that 60 million euro transfer fee gets amortized over the period of his contract on the accounts. So if it's a 5-year contract, you divide 60 by 5, and that's what is that 12 million a year. So 12.
Yeah, but usually clubs amortize more in the beginning of the contract, and so that and amortize less towards the end.
However they divide it up, it gets divided over the period of the contract. So basically, the point I'm making is that you're not paying all of that all at once. So if you get somebody's high salary off your books, like Allegri, 9 million, like Alexandro, 7.5, 8 million, whatever stupid amount he was on, all of a sudden, that between the two of them, that pays for more than pays for 1 year of Koopmeiners, or for every year of Koopmeiners. So that is why this summer, as well as selling players, Giuntoli is focusing very, very much on reducing the salary bill, and he will do. He's already well ahead in that respect in reducing the salary bill, and that is also going to allow him to really spend a lot more heavily than people that are just kind of doing the maths and doing well. They've spent X amount and they've sold Y amount. How can they be able to sell that amount? This is going to be another reason why Juventus probably will be able to spend a little bit more than on paper it looks like they should be able to. So that's the explanation. That's the midfield. Also, of course, there's Calafiori in the defence. Juventus are going to sign a centre back, and they are also at this moment working on Riccardo Calafiori as well. Bologna don't really want to sell him, but Calafiori wants to move, and they are asking for, I believe, at least 25 to 30 million. So again, it's a lot of money. Juventus are going to be in negotiations there to see if they can lower it, whether they maybe put in a player in part exchange. There are some players at Juventus that interest Bologna. So we have to see. We'll have to see what happens with Calafiori.
We will, but I think in the end he'll join Juve. I'll be very surprised if he doesn't join Juve, and I don't think Juve will be quite finished yet in midfield. I still can't shake off the feeling that Samardžić could end up with...
They won't be finished at all, Nima. And the reason for that is because there are a lot of Juventus players who are either for sale or are being considered for sale by Giuntoli in order to raise the money needed to buy players like Koopmeiners, like Douglas Luiz, like Calafiori, and like others who we're not going to mention yet, but they need a fullback, they need a right back, for example. And Di Lorenzo's is a potential option there, as are others. So we won't go there because it's going to get too complicated. But if I can run down the players that Juventus are looking at potentially to sell. Now, the big one we have to start with, and I want to just expand on this one first, is Federico Chiesa. Now, it's pretty much unanimous among all the sources that Thiago Motta doesn't consider Chiesa an important player and would not be against his sale. And Juventus obviously have a decision to make themselves because Chiesa's contract runs out in 2025. He's asking, and this is where I think Chiesa's gone wrong. He's asking for a pay increase, which I think is stupid considering the last 3 years he had. Whoever's fault that is, whether it's bad luck with the injury, whether it's Allegri's or whether it's his own. When you've performed how you have for the last 3 years, I don't think you can go into a contract negotiation and ask for a pay increase. I just don't think you can. So Juventus are not willing to pay Chiesa. I think he wanted like a 2 million increase. They're not willing to pay that. They wanted to do kind of like a bridge contract where like they give him a 1 year extension and then could reconsider it again in a year. He's not happy with that. And Juventus, if they do sell him, can aim to get 30, 40 million. Then, they can put that money towards these players that we've mentioned. So, as it looks right now, Nima, it looks like Chiesa, there's a very, very good chance he could leave this summer.
I think so. I think Juve have realised that it's not going to work with him as a wide player. I don't think he needs, wherever he goes, I think he needs to understand that he's not going to be the player he was before. And that he's going to have to adapt his game to whether it's a role change or whatever it is. He doesn't have that explosiveness about him anymore. He's still quick, but he's not like he was. And I think he needs to understand that. And the sooner he understands that, the better off he will be, and the better off the Italian national team will be, because he'll still be an important player. But he definitely needs to have a season where he can actually start doing numbers and start playing good football again, because it's been a while now. I think he will be sold. I think he will leave. I think he will be sold for around 30, 40, something like that.
If that, yeah. But again, as we've both said, I think that the Euros will be very, very key for Chiesa, regardless of whether he's going to stay or leave Juventus, because he needs to perform well to prove that he is worth paying that 30-40 million, or he is worth the contract that he's going to be asking for, whether it's at Juventus or at the club he's joining, and to get the kind of interest from clubs that want him. But Napoli and Roma are the two teams that are looking at him at the moment. But I do think he needs a big Euros. I don't think this is a transfer that will be done. Uh, Definitely not before the group stages. I don't think
No.
I think this is something that's going to happen at the end of the Euros.
Me too.
But then we've got other players. So Dean Huijsen is for sale. Juventus want to sell him for at least 30 million or so, and they'll get, because he came through the youth team. That will be a 100% profit on him. So they want to sell him again. Atalanta, that's a potential part exchange. Then we've got Matthias Sule as well, who I don't particularly agree with this, to be honest with you. But again, like Juventus are looking at him and they're thinking we can raise 40, and there's a lot of interest. They won't have any problems in selling Sule if they do end up selling him, and they value him at about 40 million. So all of a sudden, just with these three players, if Juventus to sell Chiesa, Huijsen and Sule, you're looking at over 100 million.
Yeah.
So that kind of explains how you afford Koopmeiners, Luiz, Calafiori. I mean, you're almost paying for them by selling those three players. Then you've got Kostic just for sale. Juventus are looking for probably around about 10 million for him. You've got McKennie, who Juventus value at 30 million, lol. And could be part of the deal with Douglas Luiz potentially. Then you've got Illing Jr., who's for sale. His contract runs out in a year. He could be part of the Atalanta deal potentially if the Huijsen doesn't go there. You've got Moise Kean, who's got 1 year left on his contract. He's also for sale. I mean, I think you're looking at 10, 15 million at least for him as well. Milik was for sale, but now he's suffered an injury at the ahead of the Euros. He's going to miss the Euros. He's going to be out probably at least for 6 weeks, it seems. We don't know how serious it is. So I don't know whether he now stays because of that injury. Then you've got Szczesny, as I said before, that is for sale. So Juventus will be looking probably for at least kind of like 10 million for him, I would say. And then you've got Miretti and Caviglia, who are players that could be sold, could be loaned out. Again, depends on kind of what they're. So there's a lot of players there that can raise a lot of cash for Juventus, and then it starts to make sense why they can make these deals.
I can never pronounce his name. Do you still own him? Baranachea.
Baranachea, yeah. Baranachea, I asked somebody about this actually. So Baranachea is going to, as far as I understand, is going to be part of the Ritiro. It's going to be part of the pre-season at the start. Motta wants to have a look at him and see how he performs before they decide what to do with him. But again, there's another player there that probably, you could probably get 10 million for him or something like that if you wanted to. So this is where I have to say, if there's one thing Juventus have done brilliantly well in the last few years, it has been the next gen in creating these players who they're not actually going to actually barely use for the first team, but does allow them, a bit like Chelsea have done in kind of over the last 10 years, in being able to sell them on and make big profits and then use that cash to build the team. That's one thing Juventus have done really well. I'm not a massive fan of it. I would like to see, I think it's good. It's good business, but I would like to see, you produce players and use them. I would like to see Sule play for the first team. His value could double. But I guess at the same time, Italian clubs, maybe they're in this position now where this is how they make their money because we don't have any ways of doing it. I don't like it, but it's if it's going to take Juventus back to the top quicker this summer, then I guess it's going to work.
Yeah, and also you have to remember Sule. I think the characteristics. Given the links to Mason Greenwood, I understand what kind of players they're looking for. So I think it's also a scelta tecnica, as they say. Sule is a completely different winger to Greenwood. So who is being rumored to replace Federico Chiesa, which which is problematic in and
we'll
of itself.
we'll definitely do a long segment on that. If at the moment, I don't think it's concrete enough at the moment for us to warrant us start having a bitch about it. But
it's problematic in and of itself.
Yeah.
But I mean, if we're talking from a football point of view, the kind of player Mason Greenwood is, he's a different kind of player to both Chiesa and Sule.
Yeah.
So if that's the profile they're looking for, then I understand why they want to get rid of Chiesa and Sule.
I know where you're coming from. Let's a lot to take in. A lot's going to be happening over Juventus. So we will next week. We're going to definitely try and after our Napoli, we're going to do a Napoli transfer deep dive this week, which we do every summer. Where we go through the possible incomings and outgoings and discuss everything that's going on. Juventus. We are going to try and do soon as well. This month because there is a lot going on at Juventus as well. So we will work on that. Let's move on to Inter, Nima, where there isn't so much going on at Inter as there is at Milan and Napoli. It's more about contracts, isn't it? So can you just sum up what's going on with the contract situations there?
Well, Lautaro did a turn like spectacularly. Told his agent to lower the demand so that he could agree a contract with Inter, and that's not been made official, but they have an agreement. Obviously, Inter have had quite a bit on their plate this last week with the ownership change, a new board of directors, a new president being appointed, and so on and so forth. Because a new owner is always a very traumatic change for a football club. So now that the dust has settled there, it's Lautaro signing a 5-year contract, it's Barella signing a 5-year contract, it's Simone Inzaghi agreeing a contract until 27. So that's what Inter are going to do. And then simultaneously, they're also Zielinski and Taremi are about to come in. And of course, the Denzel Dumfries situation, that's the big one. Does he leave? Does he extend? If he doesn't extend, he'll be sold. Where are they with that? And if they want to sell him, who do they bring in to replace him? There's been some rumors to Sugawara, the Japanese wingback, and we'll see. But it's all kind of right now at Inter. It's mainly just getting the contracts over the line. The new confirming the core group of players. Barella, Lautaro, Simone Inzaghi, and of course Zielinski and Taremi are coming in. Klaassen is leaving, Sensi is leaving. Alexis Sanchez is leaving. Marko Arnautovic, read rumors linking him to Fiorentina, but I don't think the jaws of life could even pry that Marko Arnautovic away from that Inter contract. He's not going anywhere. He wants to, he can't believe his luck, so he wants to ride this contract out. So I don't think it's going to be a very busy summer for Inter. I think there's going, if Aldero leaves, they need to bring in a goalkeeper to replace him, but they want that goalkeeper to be someone who's an understudy to Sommer, from what I understand, and then kind of ease him in, and then Sommer will be the backup, and this guy, whoever it is, will be the first choice keeper. Or they could reverse and just buy a backup keeper and then resolve it that way. And also central defender. I think they're understanding after Acerbi's injury and also the season where we've seen a slight decline that he's not getting any younger, and they need to start looking at a replacement there. So I think it's going to be 2-3 players, lots of players leaving. Because the revolution was last year. This is more tweaking, and Marotta's been very clear that we're not doing a revolution this summer. So
evolution.
Yeah, it's evolution.
Evolution's always better than revolution. I always say that. Say that.
They had their big one last summer when they literally cleared house, and it was a long time coming. Last summer, so that was good, and it turned out really well. I mean, they won the Scudetto in record-breaking fashion. They lots of players developed, and again, I look at Tejan Buchanan as a new signing this summer, even though he came in January. I think a proper preseason after international tournaments, Copa America and whatnot, and I think he will. I think they're viewing him as a new signing, and I think he will. Whether they see him on the left or the right, I think it's clear that Inzaghi sees him on both ends of the pitch. That he can help out on both ends of the pitch, but we'll see what happens with Denzel Dumfries and what the plan is there. But the ace, basically, it's plus minus zero summer so far. The signs coming from Inter.
Yeah, that's sadly the case with most Italian clubs, isn't it, nowadays? Let's move on to Napoli, who are probably one of the few clubs that won't have a plus or minus, I don't think, this summer, because they need a revolution. Now, we won't talk about this too much, as this week we will have, as I said before, the first of our usual summer series of transfer deep dives, where this week we will be with Napoli, one of the best Napoli journalists, Vincenzo Credendino. Nima will do that with Vincenzo, and they'll discuss all the possible business, those that could be signed, those who could be sold, the contracts, the manager, of course, Antonio Conte is the new coach, the negotiations to sign Alessandro Buongiorno, Victor Osimhen being sold, Di Lorenzo, of course, what's happening with him. There's going to be so much to talk about with Napoli, but it does seem, though, if we can just touch on it very briefly, it does seem like the negotiations to sign Alessandro Buongiorno are advancing now. It's not by any means a done deal, but it looks like that Conte has chosen him, and he is a very typical Conte centre back, isn't he?
Oh, he absolutely is. Middle of that back three that he wants to play. He wants him to be the leader of that defense. He is a very Conte centre back. It's a very Conte signing, and it's a signing that would make Conte very calm, because Conte likes to build from the back. And of course, we'll have to wait and see. Romelu Lukaku is salivating at the idea of going to Naples and being reunited with Antonio Conte, or as Thomas Tuchel referred to him, as we understood on this podcast when Nizar Kinsella said that Tuchel said, "There's your daddy." Tuchel had told Lukaku.
Brilliant.
Which is hilarious in every aspect possible. But yeah, the idea of Lukaku and Conte reuniting at Napoli is also incredibly interesting. Does he have it in him, or is this another Arturo Vidal signing? I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's I'm more inclined right now to say that this is more of an Arturo Vidal at Inter situation, or Kolarov situation at Inter, where Conte, digs his heels in because he wants his players, and then he doesn't understand that time has happened and it's not, things move forward. But we'll see. He's already got Raspadori there. He's got Kvachicha there. I think he's going to play a 3-4-3 or a 3-4-2-1. And obviously, I think Osimhen is leaving. The question is where. And if he goes to Chelsea, well, then they can sort something out with Lukaku. That way, I think it can work. But then again, you also have to remember that you're dealing with Aurelio De Laurentiis, and Lukaku's pushing 30. He's got zero resale value. There could be potential problems there down the line. But we'll see. I think Buongiorno is a very typical Conte signing. I think it will make Conte happy to have that wrapped up as soon as possible, as a gift as he comes in. So yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to doing this with Vincenzo.
And that will be on Wednesday. You're recording on Wednesday, and then we'll get it out.
We're recording on Tuesday, he said, but we'll try to get it out as soon as possible.
Yeah, as soon as possible, because the transfer market does change quickly, doesn't it, in Italy or everywhere. Okay, Roma and Lazio now. There's nothing too much to talk about with Roma right now, because I think, as is always the case with Roma, it's the June 30, isn't it? It's the FFP and balancing the books, the plus Valenza, and making sure that everything's in order, and then they can start doing some business. So I don't think we're going to expect much, are we, from Roma in terms of incomings? I guess we might have to watch out in case they lose somebody, but it does at the moment. It doesn't seem like there's going to be too much. I know we've got Chiesa is somebody to watch out for. I think most of Roma business will be. I might be wrong. I think most of Roma's business will be next month.
I think so too. I think July is when things will kick off properly there.
Yeah. But Lazio, though, there is absolute chaos at Lazio.
What is going on? Like, I saw a banner against Tudor insulting him. He resigns.
I didn't see that. Who was the banner? It was
the fans. I'm not sure. The thing with banners and Lazio fans is, I'm not sure they're really. I'm always so skeptical of every banner I see that are supposedly from Lazio fans, because Claudio Lotito has in the past had banners written up praising him and has hung them by the fans and pretended that they are from the fans to him. So I'm always a little bit careful because of Lotito's previous record on this issue. But yeah, there was a banner criticizing Tudor very heavily, very rudely.
That must have been from Lotito then.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
Well,
I
the
have
end
no
game is
idea.
look, Igor Tudor has quit Lazio. Well, has he
Yeah.
quit or did he get sacked? I don't even know what
Who knows?
the truth is there. But he's left Lazio after 3 months due to disagreements with Claudio Lotito, the president. It boiled down, well, to a number of things, but mostly the failure to secure Daichi Kamada to sign. And his contract was expiring. Kamada wanted to stay. Somehow the negotiations went wrong between Kamada and Lotito. Lotito accusing Kamada of wanting more money. Kamada publicly said that wasn't true, that he wanted to stay, blamed Lotito. He said that he said how much he liked Tudor, that he wanted to work with him again in the future. So they've lost Kamada. It now looks like he's going to move to the Premier League, maybe Crystal Palace. And Tudor has eventually left as a result. And of course, Lazio fans are furious at what's going on with the plans. Again, we're recording this on Sunday, so we'll see over the 24 hours before this comes out. This might change because Lazio fans are absolutely furious at the planned appointment of Lotito's first choice was Marco Baroni as manager, and Lazio fans are not happy, or the ultras are not happy, and they're basically starting to make threats that if he is appointed, just watch what will happen. So I don't know what that means. It's a bit of a mess there, isn't it, at Lazio?
It's complete chaos. It's just I don't understand how he does this. How this man does this over and over and over again. Lotito just it's always like this with him. You remember the madness when with what's his name? El Loco, Bielsa. He grand opening, grand closing. Like he was unveiled and he resigned within a day. He did a fantastic. I mean, I want to give cred to Marco Baroni, who I think performed a little bit of a miracle with Hellas, and who I think was outstanding at Lecce too. But he's 60 years old. What kind of vision of an appointment is this to the fans? When you, I mean, I'm not saying Baroni's a bad coach. Again, I think he is a good coach, but Lazio have a viewing upward the table. They want to finish in the top 4. Marco Baroni? I mean, I don't. To me, it's Lotito.
Maybe they're trying to avoid relegation. Maybe they're going to sell their entire squad and replace them with regen players. Maybe, I don't know.
It's gone crazy. It's absolute mayhem. And I've known Lazio fans who told me if Baroni is appointed, I'm not watching next season. Like that's how angry they are. And I'm going to try to do an interview deep dive about this soon with a Lazio journalist to just understand what the hell is going on, because it's complete chaos right now, and it's just Lotito, man. Like this man is just. I feel bad for Lazio fans. I really do. They I know it's Rome and it's a very unstable piazza and all that, but he just can't get out of his own way, can he? And he always ends up in these discussions and these problems with people. It's just it's never ending. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy for Marco Baroni. I think he deserves it. He's had a solid career. He's done some good things the last few years. But it's an underwhelming appointment. We can't lie about that. We can't say anything about that. It's a very, very underwhelming appointment.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. And of course, Luis Alberto is leaving as well. He's on his way to Al Duhail in Qatar as well. So they're losing.
That's good. No, that's enough of that. I mean, it's been going on for 3 years now, where it's just non-stop arguing between him and the club. I think for the sake of Lazio, it's good that he's leaving, because enough is enough.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of players they need to replace, and that's the end finally. That great midfield that they had one of the best midfield trios, I think, in the probably in the last kind of 10 years, if we were honest with you. And that's it; they've all gone now. Luis Alberto this year, Sergej Milinkovic-Savic last summer as well. So that's the end of that Lazio midfield. Right, managerial changes in Serie A. Just to round this up, so far, we've had 3 confirmed new managerial appointments as of Sunday the 9th. We're recording this. Antonio Conte to Napoli, Vincenzo Italiano to Bologna, which we've already discussed, and now Raffaele Palladino has gone to Fiorentina. What do you make of that, Nima? Palladino to Fiorentina.
I mean, I think it's a brave decision. I think Palladino did well at Monza. Didn't do, the first season. Second season, maybe took a step sideways. But I think it's a step in the right direction. I wonder if it's a little bit too big for him. But I think, I don't know, it also depends on the mercato. Like, what players does he have? I don't know if you noticed, but Maurizio Sarri was speaking about Fiorentina and Milan, and he said, look, those teams and those squads are adapted to my style of football, and I'm a little bit sad that none of them contacted me and wanted me. And I kind of agree with him. I think Sarri would have been a very, very good appointment for both Milan, as I've said numerous times, and also for Fiorentina because of the makeup of the squad and also the football he plays. But, there are some people who believe that maybe Maurizio Sarri is past his best. I don't subscribe to that. I think it's a combination of him being a difficult person to work with, and also a person who, look, decorum matters in Florence and Milan. How you appear, how you talk, how you dress. And Maurizio Sarri is seen as a little bit of a farmer, to be honest. They look down on him. You saw that at Juve as well, even though he won them the Scudetto, and he never really gelled well at Juve off the pitch. And I think that's what's kind of cost him here. And of course, Rocco Commisso and Maurizio Sarri, 2 strong characters. It was never going to work because Commisso doesn't like being questioned. So I mean, it's lots of clubs doing a year 0, aren't there, in the Serie A, and Fiorentina's one of them, and Bologna for sure.
I think it's going to be a very tough job for Palladino, in the same way that I think whoever takes the Lazio job, it looks like it's Baroni, is going to be difficult, because I think there's a lot of work to do there at both clubs. I said it, as much as some of the criticism of Italiano was warranted. During, especially for some of the things he did wrong in those 2 Conference League finals. At the same time, I just don't think Fiorentina have got a very good team at all, and I think they're way off. They're way off the top teams in Serie A. So I do think it's going to be very, very difficult for Palladino. But again, depends on the transfer market. It's going to depend on what they do in the transfer market. If Daniele Parade is still calling the shots, then I don't have too much trust in Fiorentina having a good market. I think that's the first problem before we get to Palladino and how well he can do.
Agreed.
Yeah, so that's Palladino to Fiorentina, and then not official, but this week, as I said before, we're expecting Motta to be official at Juventus, Fonseca to be official at Milan, Baroni to be official at Lazio, unless the Ultras manage to stop it. And also Nesta, we're talking about Palladino leaving Monza.
Yeah.
Nesta is looks like he's closing in. It seems like Galliani's almost confirmed that. Alessandro Nesta closing in on Monza job, which is a little bit surprising, because he hasn't been in Serie A before. Obviously, the connections with Milan and Galliani have obviously played a role there.
Yeah, that's an interesting appointment. That's a coaching career we've waited to see what like when it starts. And how it starts and so on. So it's going to be very exciting to see if he's appointed and how he does. I'm really curious to see what he can do. To be honest. So yeah, it's lots of question marks. I'd say lots of question marks. Italiano at Bologna and the entire Bologna project. Lots of question marks around Fiorentina and Palladino and that project. Big question mark and exclamation marks around what's it called, Lazio, and that situation there, and of course Monza, and of course Udinese, and all these other
Udinese
clubs.
as well, which was just what I was going to finish on, because Fabio Cannavaro is not continuing there, and I'm gutted about that because I can say this now. We'd actually been promised Fabio Cannavaro on the podcast ahead of next season, and now he's not there anymore. So I'm gutted. I'm absolutely gutted because having Cannavaro on the pod would have been absolutely amazing. That's just me speaking personally.
Yeah, same.
Just from a personal capacity, but I think it would have been great for our listeners as well.
Yeah, of course.
But I'm gutted about that. And I think kind of what he did as well, saving them, maybe he deserved to stay on. But at the same time, maybe they want to go with someone they're more secure with more of a longer track record.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's their reason, but we'll see who they get. It depends who they appoint. If they start appointing someone like I don't know who's the guy with the baseball cap. Someone like that, Iachini or someone.
No, if they appoint Iachini, I'll be annoyed. And also we need to know what happens with Samardzic. That's going to be very interesting to see too.
Yeah, I think.
These days.
I think he will leave. I think I think Cagliari as well. Cagliari need a new manager.
Yeah, they do
as well.
Lots
and Torino as well.
Torino, yeah. Juric, I'm surprised that Lazio. Well, not surprised really, because Ivan Juric is a.
Are you for real? Juric and Lotito.
It would have been hilarious.
Come on.
I'm sorry, but if Aurelio De Laurentiis and Antonio Conte can build Naples can work together to build a better Napoli, Juric and Lotito can stand too. I mean, it would have exploded, but it would have been entertaining. I want to see. It's going to be interesting.
Two grumps, isn't it? Two absolute grumps.
Miserable people.
Which you love more than anything.
I love it. It's so good. But it's going to be
I'm just picturing it and laughing. Right, talking about misery, we hope for no misery. Any more misery for Italy. We are recording this before the Italy versus Bosnia game on Sunday evening. So obviously we're hoping that there was some good news from that friendly after the abysmal game against Turkey, which was horrible performance by Italy against Turkey, and gave me even less hope going into the Euros than I already had. But the big news really, because I mean friendlies are friendlies, and sometimes you can't really read too much into them to players trying to avoid injury. But is Nicolo Barella's fitness status really ahead of that opening game against Albania on Saturday? And there was some good news at the weekend on Saturday about his condition. It seems like he has got a faticamento,
muscle fatigue.
Yeah, which is muscle fatigue in Italian. And I know that is usually a 1 week rest injury. So you have 1 week of rest, and then usually you can start building it up, playing again. Now, if that is the case, and that's what it seems, they're calling it muscle fatigue. They're using that word. That would suggest to me that he's gonna be, hopefully, touch wood, he's gonna be fine for the Albanian, providing he doesn't have some kind of setback or something. Maybe they don't want to take a risk, but he's absolutely crucial that he plays. I think in that game, we have to win that game against Albania, and because I tell you what, at the weekend I watched both the games of the other two opponents. I watched Croatia against Portugal. Croatia beat Portugal away. They won 2-1, and they looked really, really good.
They look good.
Did you watch it as well?
Yeah, I watched the parts of it. They look good.
They look good. I mean, the midfield was the midfield looked as good as ever. They were pretty good at the back. I mean, Portugal created some chances, but they would do because Portugal got so much quality in attack. But they look like a team. They look like a team, which is what Portugal don't look. And after watching that, I'm thinking everything you said about Roberto Martinez failing upwards in his career. Portugal didn't
from one job upwards.
Yeah. Portugal didn't look like a team. They looked like a team of great individuals. But if they're going to do well at the Euros, Portugal need to start playing as a team. They could tie it together. It's only a friendly, but Croatia, you could see. I mean, I think they've won 6 games in a row. So there's that. And then I saw Spain again. I know they're playing Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland are not a good team, but they absolutely destroyed them. Their midfield was great as well. Pedri was back to his best. He scored twice. The wingers both looked so dangerous, Williams and Yamal. And Morata scored as well. Midfield and attack, yeah, I mean, put it this way. We have to go. We have to get 3 points from Albania. We cannot be relying on getting results in those last two matches against those two teams. So that drummed it home to me that we probably need Barella. We could do with Barella being fit for that game because we just need to make sure we play our strongest team and we win that game.
No, 100%. I mean, we went through it in our Italy Azzurri Euro 2024 preview deep dive with Adriano Del Monte last week. Where we discussed all of these things, and I just want to echo everything I said there. The key is they have to beat Albania. They have to beat Albania, and I've got to be honest with you, Carlo, I am not confident and I've got a bad feeling.
Yeah, again, we're recording.
Sorry,
but we're recording this before the Bosnia game again, which might create some enthusiasm. But I have to be honest. I don't have much confidence in general about Italy's Euro campaign. But I'm absolutely sure we have to win that Albania game. Absolutely have to win that Albania game. But anyway, we won't discuss anymore. If you want to, I definitely would recommend that you watch or listen to our in-depth preview of Italy at Euro 2024. It's very long. It's about an hour and 3/4. It was Nima, myself, and guest Adriano Del Monte. And we went through everything. We looked at the squad. We looked at the probable starting 11. We looked at our three group opponents. We looked at our Italy strengths and weaknesses, the coach. We looked at we gave our predictions on the not just the group but the whole tournament. We looked at the other contenders to win the tournament. We looked at the players to watch, and then we looked at we had some more lighthearted chat as well. We picked our greatest ever Italy 11. We looked at the Italy kits, the kit for the jersey for Euro 2024. We also picked our favourite Italy kits. And then we finished off with a game at the end, the Premface game, which I'm sure everybody will really, really enjoy that. So if you want to watch it, you can actually see us for once on YouTube. Go to our YouTube channel, the Italian Football Podcast, or if you want to listen to it as normal, then it's free for everyone to listen to. It's on all the main podcast apps, Apple, Spotify, and all the others. So. Definitely do check that out because if there's lots and lots of content in there. We will though be back later in the week to properly preview the Italy versus Albania game, Nima and myself, on Thursday, and we might potentially have an interview as well. I have been promised someone, but I'm waiting for them to come back and just give final confirmation. So we might have another preview on that game as well, but we'll definitely have one on Thursday. Okay, right. Let's finish off with Baggio, Premface and Serie Ass of the week. So, Baggio of the week, and I just want to pay homage to Italy under-17s, who are European champions. The first time in history that Italy are under-17 European champions. They did actually win at under-16 level in 1982 and in 1987. They actually got stripped of the 1987 title because they played an overage player or someone wasn't registered that should have been registered. But this used to be previously used to be categorized as an under-16 tournament. Then it changed, I think 25 years ago to an under-17 tournament. Italy had never won this tournament, and they are now champions for the first time, and absolutely deserved champions. They played a fantastic tournament. I watched all of their games. They beat Portugal 3-0 in the final after a brilliant double, 2 goals from that man that everybody has been talking about for the last year, Francesco Camarda. Won all 3 games in the group, then beat England in the quarterfinals on penalties, Denmark in the semi-finals, and then thrashed Portugal in the final. Fantastic achievement. Well done to the Azzurrini. I want to go through, though, Nima, the stars of this team. I want to start off with Francesco Camarda, who is the one that stood out above everyone else. 2 goals in the final, The first goal in the final was a fantastic solo goal, and the second one was a really clinical finish. He was player of the tournament, one player of the tournament. He scored 4 goals in the tournament. He also scored a stunning strike against Slovakia in the group stages. He looks like the real deal. He really does. He has a bit of everything. He has the physique. He has the technique. He has, he can use both feet. He's got a great shot. He can finish. He can make goals for himself, like he did in the final. He's good in the air. He can bring others into play. He can come deep. He can go in behind. He just looks like such a complete player. He doesn't really seem, on the surface to really have any weaknesses. And we all know about his scoring record, scoring 500 odd goals in the Milan youth level. Of course, made his debut, broke the record for playing for Milan at the age of 15 earlier in the past season. He's just about to sign a new contract, or he just has signed a new contract with Milan. This guy is what do you think of this guy, Nima? He's special, isn't he?
He's special. He's got this really special aura about him, and he the fact that he does so well with his, like when he plays with his peers and looks so good, and so natural, and just everything flows with him, and it's just so, he's a very interesting player to watch. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next season with him. What do Milan do? Do they send him to Serie C? Do they keep him? Do they want him just to learn with the first team and play with the youth team another season? I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do with him, because he definitely is one to watch. I mean, it's one thing to score at club level gajillion goals that he has, but to then turn up to the under-17 Euros and be the player of the tournament, scoring twice in the final, and was just outstanding. Had a fantastic tournament. Best player on the team that won. That raises the bar a little bit. That makes things much more interesting. And so I'm really paying attention to him now.
Yeah, I agree, and I want to expand on your point at the end about what they do with him next season, or this coming season, because I think that is definitely going to be very, very important for his development. Another Milan player, Mattia Liberali, he was the other standout player in the tournament for Italy for me, along with Kamada. He's more of an outside forward, more of an attacking midfield. He's got a lovely left foot. He's a great dribbler, close ball control, more diminutive. He scored the goal of the tournament against England in the quarterfinal, and check out that goal to equalise. Incredible dribble, like close ball control, just kind of really quick feet, and then shot and scored. He has been labelled as the Italian Phil Foden by Alessandro Costacurta, the Milan centre-back legend, for the way he plays. Costacurta sees Phil Foden in him, the way he plays. He was fantastic in this tournament. He scored 2 goals as well. So he is another player definitely to watch. He really does look like, technically, he looks like a really special player, Liberali. And then there's another little left footer. Italy had a lot of very interesting left-footed players, diminutive left-footed players in this tournament. Another one is Mattia Mosconi, who plays for Inter. Also kind of Inter, I don't know how much you've seen of him, but like an outside attacker, attacking midfielder kind of player as well, like Liberali, a little bit similar to Liberali in style of play, like left foot, technical, creative, kind of quite good close ball control dribbler. And he was really, really good as well. Maybe slightly less so than the other two, but also you can see technically very good player. These three were a great trio. They linked up really well. Their understanding was really good. Lovely little triangles, and they kind of just had too much for their opponents. These three in attack, the opponents just couldn't handle them. It really was a great team to watch. And what was so special about this Italy team is that they were all really comfortable on the ball. Very comfortable on the ball.
Very comfortable on the ball. They played a possession game that I thought was very interesting to see.
Spanish-like, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was more Spanish than Italian traditionally, if we're gonna use stereotypes and label stuff. I thought they were much.
There wasn't anybody that had the ball that you thought like they were uncomfortable when they had it, that they were playing like little short passes and
Yeah.
pass and go triangles, and the midfielders as well. I mean, Federico Chiesa was the goal scorer in midfield. He scored 3 in the tournament. He scored the winner in the semi-final against Denmark, and he scored the opener in the final as well. He plays for Roma. But the other player that impressed me probably more than anyone else was Christian Karma at left back. He very fast, but again diminutive, very dangerous going forward. Joined the attack a lot, got in behind, made those kind of bursting runs. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Jordi Alba, kind of the way he played. I really liked him in the tournament. He scored a goal. He was in the team of the tournament. Italy had 5 players in the UEFA team of the tournament. They had Kamada, Liberali, Karma, the other fullback, Benjamin, who plays for Real Madrid as youth team. He's the right back. He was in the team of the tournament as well. And also the goalkeeper, Massimo Pessina of Bologna. He was in the team of the tournament as well. There's also a Barcelona centre-back, Andrea Natali, who's the son of the former defender, Bologna defender. Did he play for Bologna, Cesare Natali? I think he did. Former Serie A centre-back. He's very highly rated. He played really well in the final. He struggled against England, though, in the quarters. He had a bad game against them, but he was really good in the final. He's wanted by Bayer Leverkusen. Leverkusen are actually in negotiations to sign him. So quite interesting that 2 of these players, one plays for Real Madrid, one plays for Barcelona, 2 of the defenders. But it's a very special group of players, I think, Nima. You could see that they were cut above. Only the England game. The England game was tough. I think maybe slightly fortunate to win that quarter final. It went to penalties. They won on. England had a good team as well, but other than that, every single game they were head and shoulders above their opponents in every game. I mean, the Denmark game in the semi-finals, they should have won about 6 or 7-0. It was unbelievable how many chances they had. And again against Portugal, they just completely blew them away in the first half. So yeah, that we're the reigning under-17 champions of Europe now. We're the reigning under-19 champions of Europe from last year. We're the under-20 World Cup runners-up from last year. So it shows. I mean, we are now officially the best youth team. We've got the best youth national teams in the world based on the trophies at the moment. So it shows that we have the talent. It shows that at the moment we're doing better than any country at youth level. The problem is, as we have complained so much, is that we do not have the pathway in getting these players to develop from this youth quality at youth level to become top senior players and getting them to play regularly in Serie A. And the biggest example of that is go back to a year ago, under-19 European champions, under-20 World Cup runners-up. How many of those players are played regularly or barely played at all in Serie A last season? Barely any. I think Kayode is probably the only real example of someone that was playing regularly, and that only came about because of a serious injury to Dodo that ruled him out for most of the season. So this is the problem, Nima. This is what needs to change. We need to change the culture in getting these players to have chances.
Yeah, no, I do. I agree. I think that's what I'm saying with Camarada. To see what Milan do with him now, and what Inter and all the Roma and everyone else who owns the rights to these players, what they do with them next season. Because and not just this team, but also the under-19 and under-20s and everything that's going on with them. I want to see them. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle them. Do they play them in the Serie B, which I think is not a bad idea if they're 17, 18. And then, or do you try to integrate them in the Serie A in a smaller team like Frosinone did with the Sule and all these other guys, even though they were 20-something, 23 years old. But yeah, it's. I think you do have a point in what you say that I think Italy needs to start opening up more to younger players. I really think so.
Yeah, because I mean, we actually have a question on this in the Q&A about what's the best way to do about this. We do discuss about that. But I think that is one of the advantages of creating the next gen team or a B team is that if Milan, for example, they have no problem in playing Kamada and Liberali in their next gen team, and if they don't get the results, it's not the end of the world. They don't really care that much because it's not about winning with their next gen team or their B team. It's about development. Whereas if you loan them out to a team, even if it's Serie B team, those teams have objectives that if they fail to meet those objectives, it has consequences on the manager, on the president, on the financial situation, on the other players. So they then become reluctant to give them the chance to develop and to make mistakes and to trust. And so that is probably one of the positives which maybe we didn't discuss in the Q&A episode of having Milan having this next gen team, Juventus having a next gen team, Atalanta having a next gen team, and the other teams creating these next gen teams, is that they are able to play these players. The problem is, though, that if these teams are stuck in the Serie C or lower, that level is probably not high enough. Well, it isn't, in my opinion, high enough for these players to be able to develop at the level. They need to be playing Serie B at the very lowest, or Serie A. They have to be. That's where these players. I mean, if you look at, I think Barcelona, for example, some of the Spanish clubs have gone too far. They've actually risked ruining their youngsters, their young phenomenons like Gavi, like Pedri. Now they're playing Yamal at 16. They're playing Kubasi at 17. When these players are phenomenons and they're already top players, they already look like top players, and you've got to be careful not to overdo it and ruin these players. But
burn them out.
But if Italy had these players, they wouldn't have been playing. Do you think they would have played? Yamal. You think, where would Yamal be at 16? He would have been probably loaned out to Serie C or stuck playing with the Primavera team. So this is where the culture has to change, because if in 2 years, I don't want to be sitting here in 2 years' time and we're talking about what happened to Kamada, and then maybe we'll be sitting here and saying, well, maybe he wasn't really good enough. And I think that's the wrong way of discussing it, because how does he have a chance of being good enough if he doesn't ever get the chance to play? So that's the problem.
Mm. No, I think the next gen thing is the right move forward, and also loaning him to Serie B teams to see that the right environment, regardless of where they go. I want them in the right environment, someplace where they can develop in peace, and that they can show and take the to develop, because it's not just they're still growing, they're still young lads, both mentally and physically, they're still growing. And so I think they need to be in a good, nurturing environment where they can develop every aspect of their game, and also off the pitch, because I think that's very important too. I think a lot of times people don't understand how important off the pitch maturity is as well.
Absolutely. Right. Premface of the week. Do you have a Premface?
No, well, we were doing Premface of the year, aren't we?
Okay.
Because we're going to have lots of Premfaces because it's a tournament, but that we've had some awesome Premface, because we asked people to send us in their Premface of the year, and we've got two that are just stunning. One is from our patron Chris, who says, my Premface of the year was Good Morning Britain talking about the Beckham affair while showing footage of Guti. Oh, yeah. That will never stop being funny. And of course, Kunal Soni says, my vote is for BBC Sport tweet on Man City winning title, asking if it's the best team ever in history.
That was a belter as well.
But I can't listen. For me, the Guti Beckham thing, because even if you're not interested in football, because he's such a mega celebrity, not just globally, but especially in England, right? Everyone knows how David Beckham looks like. So the fact that they're showing Guti is just so unbelievably funny to me. For me, it's got to be that. I think I can't stop laughing at it. It's so good.
I still love the Joe Cole Premface after the Europa League final, where he said that Atalanta learned from West Ham how to beat Bayer Leverkusen.
Yes, I'm sure Gasperini was studying David Moyes,
even though West Ham lost and drew in their two games against Bayer Leverkusen. They learned from West Ham how to beat them.
No, but yeah, the Guti thing always sends me. I just can't stop laughing. It's absolutely hilarious. So funny.
Yeah, and finally, Serie A Serie Ass of the week. Do we have anything this week? Or
I've not seen anything. It's been very quiet, hasn't it? On this,
I did see them do a post a few days ago about Yerry Mina. He was dancing, and they put the caption, "I got the moves like Mina." I saw that, which is just kind of again, just as we've said, like they put these really captions that just don't make any sense. Like,
Monza put a tweet that was weird with Carboni doing a dribble against Inter, and then I can't remember who finished it, and really poorly, and then the ball ended up and they cut it to someone being hitting someone in the head, and it's like it just made no sense. Like it was just weird. That was also very strange. I didn't understand what the point of that was. Like making fun of their own players almost, like, which we've seen
with Napoli this
Napoli
season.
and Osimhen with "I'm a coconut" or whatever it was.
Oh my God.
I can't believe that actually happened.
Mhm.
Like that.
Well, if we're talking about Serie Ass of the year, then that has to be definitely up there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've never seen anything like that. The TikTok thingy that Napoli was mental, absolutely mental. The "I'm a coconut" or whatever it was. I'm sorry, but that is just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Yeah,
I would say as an honorary Serie A ass of the week, and it's got nothing to do with Serie A, but it's the kind of thing that Serie A has done in the past. It would be this whole race storm that's broken out in England over the England national team. Did you see it after they lost to Iceland 1-0 in a friendly? And basically the entire English mainstream media, all their front pages, all their back pages, and all the front pages of their websites and everything, it all had the picture of either Bukayo Saka or another black player, along with headlines like "Black Ice."
Oh my God, you are joking.
No, it's become like a really big, like it's really become a big storm about this. I mean, it's so blatant. I mean, the crazy thing is that Saka come on as a substitute for like 20 minutes, or 25 minutes in the game, and yet he's been made as kind of like the face
What's wrong with
of the
these
defeat.
people?
And it's so obvious now, like it's not a coincidence that they've chosen Saka, as they've all chosen him as the kind of like the face, and like Mainu, I think was in one of them as well, and so like it's been called out, like rightfully so, by the like. I mean, Ian Wright has called it out. I've seen Lewis Hamilton, the Formula One driver, has called it out and said basically, like, you know, people are not stupid anymore. It's pretty obvious what's going on from there. And then, you know, you've had players, it's also extended from there to certain journalists are getting criticised for singling out, certain players as well. I mean, just go on to Twitter and type in the name Jacob Steinberg, and you'll see the absolute extremes of this. I mean, this is just what it's become like a real race storm now, and that is just kind of, I guess, you know, because we've been there before with kind of like stupid own goals. You know, in not necessarily to do with race, although of course we've been there with we've been there with race as well. But you know, this is the kind of thing that this is really what we call Serie Ass. This is the definition. This is the definition of Serie Ass.
Like,
and it's
that Black Ice? Are you serious?
Yeah, they used the headline "Black Ice."
You are joking.
Yeah, it was the Daily Star. The headline was Black Ice, and then they used a picture of Bukayo Saka. Obviously, the pun is obviously Iceland. Obviously,
yeah, I know.
But
I get that.
But
I know.
Yeah, I know.
But what I'm saying is that's the kind of stuff we would expect from like Corriere dello Sport.
I know, Black Friday.
Yeah,
and when they did Black Friday, they did
Zazzaroni, and it was like all of that stuff, and they were doing race puns. That is definitely Serie Ass. That is Serie Ass, definitely. Yeah, that is mental,
insane. So yeah, this is definitely, it's overshadowing England's build up to the Euros. Really, I mean,
well, has the super genius Joey Barton chimed in? Because I can't wait for him to express what his feelings on this. I'm sure it'll be enlightening and really intelligent, and thoughtful too, probably.
Yeah, Joey Barton, Tommy Robinson, all that.
Jesus Christ on a cracker! These people, man, like, oh God.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a lot for you this week. So we'll have the Q&A on Tuesday, Wednesday.
Vincenzo Credendino,
Napoli deep dive, and then definitely on Thursday we will have our final pre-Euro 2024 Italy preview show, let's call it, on more on the Italy-Albania game. And then potentially we might have something else for you, but we don't want to promise anything yet until it's done. So lots for you anyway this week ahead of the Euros. So have a good week, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.